Just in case nobody's told you this today, hello, good morning, you're doing amazing, I believe in you, and nice butt. Let's go.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. A bit late this week, cramming all these episodes in as I get back from my big break, and Eric is he's on the precipice of taking his vacation, so we have to squeeze a lot of episodes into a very tiny window. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Oldman.
Hello, everyone. We'll be recording a lot today and tomorrow. It'll roll it out in a different pattern, but yeah, it's there's a lot of podcasting going on.
A lot of pods happening here in America. That's doing great, by the way.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you went away
back.
And you came back, and we made it better than ever, right?
So I'm so glad to be back in a. I'm so glad to have left a country, Germany, that hates Nazis more than America does. And to come back to the 1950s, it's amazing, and I love Germany too. Obviously, it was great. It was fun. I went from Berlin down to Munich. I did a whole sort of north to south, North Germany to Bavaria tour. That was only in the east, though. It didn't go into like Hamburg or any of that. Yeah, man, is it great? It's beautiful, beautiful country there, Eric. And
no, it is.
Have you been to Germany?
Yeah. No, when I did my, I told you to go to those film studios, Matt. When I did my semester in Europe in college, Germany's actually
castle.
Yeah, Germany's actually one of the only places I went to twice because we did a group trip, as in the entire group staying at the castle from Emerson, which is like 60 kids or so. We all went to Berlin together, but then me and a smaller group, including Jonah Krakow, went to Berlin just as one of our weekend, excursions. And it was great.
I actually lost a full day in Berlin because of travel woes. I had so many awful travel woes going to and back.
Back to?
Mostly to. I'll just put it very quickly just to say I didn't take any original flight I was booked on. No leg was the original leg, and it was all an absolute nightmare. And had my trip actually been, something like shorter than 10 days on the ground, I would have been very upset, like losing a day.
Seeing even just what it was taking to get you there, I was like, that's
it was so bad. So I spent a lot of Berlin time going to, the Wall Monument, Checkpoint Charlie, Hansa Studios, where they recorded David Bowie and Iggy Pop and Depeche Mode and a lot of my favorite bands. So yeah, it was a wonderful time. And I'm going back. Bye. see everyone later.
We'll figure out the timing to make this podcast happen every week with you in Germany.
Yeah, goodbye, friends. I am gone. It's only 7 hours ahead. Well, from Central Time anyway. Okay, so we're doing E.T. this week. By the way, you just mentioned Jonah Krakow, and there's a lot of screaming in E.T., a lot of and I wonder what young Jonah Krakow's ears thought of all that. Was he going, shut up, at a very young age? Possible. So we're doing E.T., a veritable blockbuster, as Eric is picking the biggest money makers of 82, and I am picking these offshoot animated films that just were kind of nightmare fuel for me as a youngling. So let's by the way, Eric, your anus, get it?
I do.
Oh, you do? You okay?
Yeah. Because do you know
how funny? Was sure he wasn't.
Him saying penis breath, like
okay. So I saw this movie as a kid. I wasn't fully enraptured by it, like the rest of America's youths and families, and making it the huge blockbuster. I pretty much saw it once, I think, and haven't really revisited it that many times since, if at all. I know a lot of it, and the one of the big memories is penis breath, because hearing that as a 7-year-old or 6-year-old or however old I was when this movie came out in 82, was life-changing.
No, it was. It was like, can you say that? That is controversial.
So we'll be talking about E.T. in the main event today. And before we do that, let's get into some news here. First is it's to the surprise of no one, there are well, apparently there are actual several character-driven sequels series in development for Game of Thrones. We've heard a lot about it, the spin-offs and the prequel that's coming, obviously, but sequels. Like I would love, obviously, after this, one thing I knew I wanted after, if we were getting more Game of Thrones after the finale, was I wanted an Arya series. I wanted an Arya the Exploria series as she headed west of Westeros. But this is not that. Jon Snow, with I guess a series tentatively titled Snow right now, is in development, a sequel series starring Jon Snow. We last saw going Beyond the Wall. Once again, banished to the Black, to the Night's Watch, beyond with the Wildlings. And I guess Kit Harington sort of helped craft this and pitch this. And George R.R. Martin even came out and talked about it and said that, yes, this is a thing that could be happening and we're actively working on it. And so Jon Snow, the series, and one of apparently 4 live action successor shows in development at HBO.
Is that? Oh, I didn't catch that at all. That there were other. Are you sure that
George R.R. Martin in a blog post said this? So
I thought he was just saying no. I think you're misunderstanding, Matt, because I think he said this is one of the 4 shows.
Oh, so this isn't like, so when I hear successor, it doesn't necessarily.
No, everything else was a prequel we'd already heard about. This is the first of so far only actual sequel series that they've acknowledged being in development. Because
so they're not all sequel series, and I'm just wrong. That's fine. My mind is thousands of miles away, not only because of jet lag, but also because my heart is now in Bavaria with beer and pretzels, one of which I don't consume, which is beer. But yeah, so what do you think? Do you want to see more of Game of Thrones, like the story continue afterward?
I am totally fine. It's funny because because it's been like prequel, an insane amount of prequels that we keep hearing in development. Which Martin acknowledged, like, look, these aren't all going to go to series. It's just not the way it works. But also it's like, of course, it's not that the world didn't end at the end of Game of Thrones, so why not do a sequel? Now, am I excited about it? I'm passively like, give me something good, I'll be up for it. Again, you and I have discussed many times that as two people, I think I was maybe a little harsher on the ending than you, but neither of us were into the ending, but it also didn't like retroactively ruin our entire experience of the show or the show for us. Like, it's just so funny when anything Game of Thrones comes out, it's like, Benioff and Weiss suck. Oh, they're the worst. They're the worst for making several years of a show I fucking loved.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the last year or two. So all that being said, all I can hope for is like, look, we talked about this with Dexter and Matrix, where it was like, hey, well, let's make a better ending. Like, we didn't end that very well.
Yeah,
let's come back and do more.
Well, we've also said on this podcast and previous podcasts we've done, which is that if it's good, I don't care. If it's good, things are good, and that's fine. As long as whether or not you're actually trying to course correct or change an ending to a show, that's one thing. But if it's good, then no one will really matter that much. I think I landed with Game of Thrones is that I think the story could have worked had they split it into 2 seasons and taken their time. I think there were a lot that was bad, but there was other stuff that could have worked if it didn't feel rushed. And so Snow, obviously I've already said that I wanted an Arya series the most, but I guess Jon Snow, also one of the most popular characters leaving that show, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm up for it. As I'm way more invested in sequel shows to this than any prequel show. Like, I am not interested in House of the Dragon at all, really. So, except for the cast, I don't care about going backwards with that. So,
yeah, I mean, look, no matter what, I think everyone would agree, whether you love the world, hated how it ended, whatever, it feels exhausting when you hear they're developing 4 or 5 shows simultaneously. And I'm glad George R. R. Martin mentioned they're not all going to happen. Like, the way Hollywood works, it's very unlikely they're all going to happen, because it does feel like, guys, come on, that's there's too much. Let's see. It went out on a sour note for people, so you do have to kind of do that rebuilding of trust. I think there is people doth protest too much about when they're like, no one cares about Game of Thrones anymore because of how it ended. I see people saying that more than actually feeling people don't care at all about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, so the thing is that most people don't have a strong opinion about such things.
Right.
They'll have a mild opinion or no
Right.
opinion, but then the internet goes too far into the hyperbolic extreme opinion and therefore gives people their opinion for them. Like people are more apt to borrow opinions from the internet because they feel like this is the consensus, therefore I hate Game of Thrones. But actually this is kind of going to feed into an email. I'm going to split up the email segment here by putting one in the middle of our two news stories. And this comes to us from Nick, who writes in, happy summer movie season. How do you guys review films that have a lot going for them and many grainy elements, but also have an inherent flaw in their premise or conceit? Example, Matt in an article for IGN declared Midsommar the third best A24 movie. More on that in a bit, Nick. I like Midsommar and consider it better than Hereditary, but what I struggle to move past is the script's requirement for the character that's attacked stupidly by remaining in the cult village when there are so many warning signs within the first half hour that they need to get the F out of there. Granted, if the characters were as smart as the average person, then there would be no film, or the writers would have to work harder to come up with a plausible reason for them to stay. Frustrating. Appreciate your thoughts. Firstly, before we dig into the actual idea of your email there, my name is on all list articles, but that doesn't mean I necessarily make the list. Sometimes I do, Nick, but with something like this, it is a consensus. We got a spreadsheet, we got multiple editors, everyone votes. So I can't tell you where my Midsommar. So we had like 50 A24 films that we were ranking, and everyone lists them 1 through 50. And then we pick out the top, then the spreadsheet makes the top 10 for us. And that's how we get a lot of these big listicles, especially for like if it's a top 25 or something like this. I don't think I put Midsommar as number 3 myself, but it was in the top 10, definitely. So anyway, that was that. But then you and I have also already talked about this on the podcast, Eric, which is that we can like a film that while also lightly knocking or playing around with gaps, things that might people that have been referred to as fridge logic, which is that, people are going to do dumb things sometimes to further the plot. I want to ask Nick if Nick enjoys any horror movie, really, because that's a big part of horror is people not leaving the situation. And it's almost a cliche at that point. I think Midsommar did a much better job at it than most horror movies, which by this point sometimes don't even try because they expect the audience to just go along for the ride, and for the most part they do. And secondly, Nick says if they were as smart as the average person, I think you're giving the average person way too much credit too, Nick.
Yes.
To be honest. So that's my take on that, is that it's sometimes to the point when it's well done that I don't notice or don't care because I'm in it for different reasons. And it's not meant to be a representation of life. It's there to tell a story, and it's a different medium for doing so. So what are your thoughts, Eric?
I mean, it's funny what'll like sort of trigger what you're saying, people, because like you said, it's like it's inherent in the entire horror genre of people not leaving a situation that they should leave. And to me, it's just like almost a now, of course, a movie can go to an extreme where it does seem silly, but usually the actual setup, I'm cool with that as long as like, there's a modicum of like it making sense for the character, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but again, what will sort of make it what Nick's situation of like, this is extra hard for me. A oft mentioned movie on this podcast that we still, neither of us have officially made a good thing to enjoy. One day we should just do the damn movie, The Guest. The Guest basic setup, no full spoilers, just the basic setup of the movie is that a grieving family lost a son in war, and one day a guy shows up at the doorstep to the grieving mother and says, I was his best friend out there, and she, feeling so sad about her son's loss, invites this guy in who knew her son. Trish, my wife, would not watch The Guest for a long time, Matt, because she so inherently was like, I would never let that guy in. Like, stupid. That's stupid. But when she did, by the way, she fucking loved it. But it was a hard hill for her to get over, because it just, even though she likes a lot of horror movies where other people do, it's just that specific thing was harder for her in that movie because she's like, I would just never let a guy in who knocked on my door, saying he knew someone I loved,
Yeah, totally. Word to your moms, came to drop bombs. I fully will admit I would be lying if I said there weren't movies that had that one thing, Nick, that drove me crazy and I couldn't quite get past. I understand what you're saying. With horror movies and with Midsommar, which I, again, think did it way better than most, always remember the characters do not know they're in a horror movie. Scream characters know they're in a horror movie. Yes. No one else in a horror movie knows they're in a horror movie. So their danger sense is going to be dulled a little bit. And they are no one's going to be like, oh, come on, we're at this festival. They are not a crazy cult, which I can imagine myself possibly doing in a situation, because why would I think I'm in a horror movie? So anyway, to answer your question,
and by the way, Midsommar,
I think it's a case-by-case scenario, but yeah.
Midsommar, like The Guest, by the way, does its best to be about a very grieving person.
Yes, so she's they are vulnerable. Danny, is that her name in Midsommar, I believe, is already making bad choices, personal bad choices in her life by going there with this boyfriend anyway. So it stands to reason that she would continue to do so, and that the group would as a whole, perhaps. But speaking of Scream, which we just mentioned, our next news story is about Scream 6 and a cast member joining. The Zerny-sance continues.
I know.
I was Henry Czerny joining Scream 6, which you pointed out on Twitter, I believe, is a Ready or Not reunion. Because that was the first thing I saw Henry Czerny back in a long time. It doesn't mean he wasn't in things, just things I wasn't seeing. But yeah.
Well, I watched Revenge, and I don't believe you did.
Yeah. No, I watched the first 2 seasons of Revenge.
Okay.
But that was still like 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago. Yeah.
So
but he's back
as Kitteridge in Mission Impossible: Dark Reckoning, and now
he's back as Kitteridge in Scream 6,
and he's also Kitteridge in Scream 6 in the crossover you'd never expect.
It's Paramount. They're all Paramount. They can do it.
Oh, he's a studio contract player at this point. But yeah, do you know anything about the role? I don't.
No, they're being
other
every
than he
new
could
role,
be the killer.
Yeah, every new role we have to say, is this a ghost face? But yeah, I am excited just that it's a Ready or Not reunion. The Radio Silence guys making Scream 6 again, like they made Scream 5, which I remember, they talked about how they wanted Samara Weaving in that movie, and just schedule wise, it didn't work out. We still don't have Samara Weaving in a Scream movie, but we get Henry Czerny. That's cool. And James Vanderbilt, who's, co-writing these new Scream movies. He was very funny on Twitter just by when people were asking him who Henry Czerny's playing. He's like, he's playing one of the sexy teens, and he just kept declaring that at the exclamation point.
He's playing Sidney Prescott.
He's playing Sidney Prescott. Yeah, not much else to say here because we don't know anything else. But I mostly wanted to say it because the Zerny-sance, because this brings together things I like. And what's not to enjoy about that on a podcast called We Enjoy?
Man, I am blanking. Did we read Sean's Patreon message to us about RRR already? I can't remember. Do you remember?
I believe so. I don't believe so.
To recap, Sean, on your recommendation, watched RRR and basically during a flight. So again, it wasn't a giant cinematic experience, but still he enjoyed the hell out of it.
He watched it on the opposite, yes, which is fine. It's fine.
By the way, my plane watches, because I had a long plane flights to Germany on different legs, which is to say I watched, Moonfall. Did I cry? Yes. Last night in Soho, I watched that, which I enjoyed 3/4 of. I thought it was really well done for the most part. I know you previously also recommended it as a good thing to enjoy. And I watched The Way It Was Meant to Be Seen, Dune, which is on a tiny screen on the back.
Had you not seen Dune?
I've seen pieces of Dune on HBO Max on my bigger TV. There's nothing I don't appreciate about Dune, this version of Dune. I think it's great. It is also a surefire way to help me fall asleep. So I can put Dune on and watch it in 20-minute chunks, and then I'm like, me. It's just so much sand, and
it's a lot of sand. It's a lot of blowing sand. It's very soothing. I get it.
And but yeah, not a knock against Dune. So, and then on the way back, Eric, I watched I watched Spectre, which is a Bond movie that got knocked a lot, and I remember liking, or at least not hating as much as everyone else seemed to. And I'd only seen it once, so I thought I'd revisit it. And then I also watched what was the other thing? I'm not going to remember right now, but I watched season 1 of Hacks, all on the plane. So that was cool too.
Nice. Yeah, I'd only seen Spectre once as well until No Time to Die was opening, and I finally finished the Bond rewatch that Trish and I began like 4 years ago, which was only like one or two more movies, and then all of Brosnan and Craig. So that's last fall I rewatched Spectre. It's still definitely
I thought it was better.
Sandwiched in between two ones I really loved.
I know. But I still thought it wasn't like, again, the way people treat Star Trek Into Darkness and Spectre, you'd think it was the worst movie ever made. So rather than just being, mid. So whatever, as the kids say.
They do say that. And you know what, Matt? They say it too much. I'll be an old man here. It's become so very quickly. It's become, and I did a little old man Twitter rant about this. It's essentially just replacing the word meh. It's the exact same amount of letters. But everything right now is mid. It's just like it's just your declarative. It's funny because instead of the Twitter extreme of everything is the worst thing or the best thing ever, it's the Twitter blasé. Nothing is great or terrible. It's all just.
Well, I always took it to mean kind of also overrated, which is something people say is good, but actually it's mid. Thing about recent slang, about the youth slang nowadays, it lasts a year, right? So like our slang growing up lasted a long time. And, as olds, we still say old things. We still say rad and this and that. But like, I still call people herbs, which is like what we would call drips, which is another outdated phrase.
I never in my life have used that term.
Oh, I used to call people herbs. I think it was an East Coast thing.
I was going to say, I don't think that one made it to
herbs
LA.
And drips. And I call people clowns a lot, which I think is timeless, by the way. Sure. But yeah, you get mid has a lifespan of about 2 years maximum, because it's the same thing as fam and fire and a lot of things, which after a while sound like you're saying slang from 5 years ago, which is, short windows and everything.
Want to do. Yeah.
Short things. So let's continue with email here, and you can write into us as oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to tell you as an email tangent aside, because I just happened to glance at my email and see my mom sent me an email. You know something that my mother, Carol Goldman, does that is fascinating, Matt?
Yes.
All of her subjects to me in email are mom or mother, as if I won't see that Carol Goldman sent me an email and understand that that's my mom. So it's not like, house or movie or
man,
anything.
What if it was mother and then you opened it, it was just the lyrics to Danzig's Mother?
It's just a Danzig, or it's just a link to watch Albert Brooks's Mother. One or the other.
Albert Brooks's was Mother, right? Not Mom. Yeah, Mother. I love Mother with Debbie Reynolds. That's one of my favorite. That and Defending Your Life are my two favorite Albert Brooks movies. Alfred Brooks. Anyway, you can write into us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com or on Patreon. You can become a Patreon subscriber. You can, for $2 a month, you can get a commercial-free version of the podcast. And for $4 a month at the Hudson Hawk tier, you can get commercial-free versions of the podcast, including our bonus episodes, which you're about to get one fairly soon for Obi-Wan. And so this comes to us.
I didn't know if he was going to promise it, guys, because it's a little tricky to make this one happen, but we're going to do it.
We're going to do it because I binged it. I binged it, right. So we're going to do it.
Okay.
So, via a regular original recipe email comes a message from Brad, and the subject line is Nicole Kidman, Australian, because it was something we had brought up, a question we had. Yes. And Brad answers, yes, kind of. She was born in Hawaii, grew up in Australia. However, Sam Neill is from New Zealand, as is Russell Crowe. With that out of the way, hi, my name is Brad. I'm from Outback, Australia. That's awesome. Outback. Oh, wow. Does he know Outback Jack? WWF Golden Era wrestler. Also, all I know of the Outback is Alice Springs, which is the inspiration for Alice Springs chicken at Outback Steakhouse. And the book Tracks, which was almost a movie starring Julia Roberts, I believe.
Oh.
Let's see. I took an Australian fiction class in college, Eric. So
now, which of those actors that were just mentioned, though, were on the soap opera Neighbours? That it seems like about 80% of Australian actors who become famous had to first have done a stint on.
Everyone got funneled through Neighbours coming out of that.
There's another one that was it called like Home and Away? That is like it feels like second tier to me because a smaller group of Australian actors, Chris Hemsworth was on that one. But Neighbours, that's the one that you do. It's like you do your time in like the Israeli army. It's like
Yeah,
you do
everyone who turns 18 has to be on Neighbors.
That's right. If you're gonna act, you got to do it.
So actually it was an Australian literature class, not just fiction. So the first thing we had to read was about Australian history, and then we got into Australian fiction. So Brad continues, been a listener since we enjoy wrestling, but used to read the wrestling recap on IGN during my university days. Thank you, Brad. I asked last year if the two of you had seen Wellington Paranormal. As Our Flag Means Death is a recent release, I thought I'd check in to see if either of you have had the chance to see this New Zealand-produced show from Taika Waititi, who seems to be making everything nowadays. Secondly, and lastly, I enjoyed the recap of Secret of Nim from last week. I have a short story here where I used to work at a store named Tandy, which he explains is literally the same as Radio Shack. My time working there had made me think of the rechargeable battery of the same name. So for a long time, I thought the movie was called The Secret of Nickel Metal Hydride, which I guess would be a completely different movie. Anyway, enjoy the upcoming week, Brad. Brad, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm having a Hudson Hawk moment here. I think I recommended Our Flag is Death as a good thing.
Yes, you did.
Okay, yes. I enjoy it, and I'm very happy. Also, I do believe when I recommended it, it had not been renewed for a season 2. Yeah. Now it has. So
I'm currently watching it, and I'm quite enjoying it, even though it does have a slight overrated thing to me, maybe inescapable, especially because the big thing the second half of the season hinges on. People were so happy about, they were all posting about it, even though you're supposed to discover that naturally. I said it.
You're not getting a quite organic view of the series. I didn't either, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I still absolutely loved it. And it does start out differently because they takes about 2 episodes because they wanted to, very purposely so, get you invested in the crew before they went into the big story, so that you would care about them later on. But yeah, I really like that show. I wouldn't say it's a laugh riot. It's not that kind of show, but it's whimsical delight.
Yes.
Let's see. And I think that's it for the emails. Let's see.
And we'll probably have 0 emails on our next one because we're pre-taping. So.
Oh yeah, no emails. Email ban starting now.
No. Send us emails for the one after that, though.
Yes, we won't get to them for a while. But yeah, let's get into our good things to enjoy. Eric, your good thing this week, as I see on the spreadsheet here, Google Doc, not spreadsheet, is a movie I really want to see, but you've already seen. So what is your good thing to enjoy?
By the way, a slight spoiler alert for the fact that Matt is actually going to have we're both having current theatrical releases this week. Usually I'm the only one who does this, but this time.
But question, have you seen my pick?
No, if
wow, so that's the rarer thing, is that you haven't already seen it.
I have ticket to see a brunch screening of it at Alamo Drafthouse today that I may or may not cancel depending on how we're podcasting goes.
All right, well, let's hurry up. Get to your fucking thing.
All right. Anyway, so my recommendation this week is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Actually, the funny thing here, Matt, is that I know that.
So say the title again, because I don't know if it's on everyone's radar. Marcel
the Shell, the word shell, like gas station or the protective,
like your dad, like Goldman Senior, yeah.
It's Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And here's the funny thing about this, Matt, is that I knew what Marcel was. I knew that there were these shorts about this little stop motion animated shell. But I'd only seen a little bit of one of them because the person I knew who loves Marcel, who insisted I watch it, like, look at this on YouTube, was Carol Goldman. My mom loved Marcel.
Oh, your mom's so much cooler than mine. First of all,
I felt a little bad when I realized I went to see this by myself. I thought I should have taken my mom.
Oh, yeah.
This is her end game.
Does she even know it exists, Eric?
I don't think she does. So maybe I should surprise her.
That's cool. But your mom is already cool because she actually sends and responds to emails, which mine does not. And it was very hard to get a hold of her.
They say mom in the subject.
It was very hard to get a hold of my mother in Germany. While I was like trying, I was like, have you actually gotten any of my updates that I'm safe in here? I don't know, because she won't respond. Anyway,
this is a live action / animated hybrid that Jenny Slate is the voice of Marcel, a little shell with a face, one eyeball.
What's the shoe situation with this shell, Eric?
It has 2 feet, this shell, and on those feet are little shoes.
And I'm in.
And so Jenny Slate co-created this character and co-wrote the movie with Dean Fleischer Camp, who has worked on these shorts with her as well, and he directed the movie. He is in the movie. It is is mockumentary the right word? In a way it is, because it's all presented as a man named Dean making a documentary about this little living shell. And it's a little bit meta because it kind of, the fact that Marcel becomes like a celebrity is part of the plot that is, using the fact that Marcel became a viral thing and people were into these little YouTube shorts. Anyway, I love this movie. It's really funny. And then it's a little bit of a Paddington situation though, because there's a lot of poignancy here and emotion.
Eric, I cried during the trailer for this movie. So it's,
oh yeah, there's some sadness.
Really believe
here.
the poignancy. Yeah.
And I really dug it. Again, going in has not a 100% Marcel noob, but a Marcel, what are you showing me, Mom? Who didn't fully tune in to what she was showing me on YouTube several years ago. I was all in on this. It really, grabbed me. Isabella Rossellini is the voice of Marcel's grandmother, who's another shell, who's another major character in this movie. And it is this poignant little look at a little shell doing the best he can. Marcel is a boy, even though Jenny Slate is voicing him, as is often the case in animation. But he's a little shell doing the best he can in this world, living in the
the Lubbocks?
Los Angeles area. Yes. And 60 Minutes is a big part of this movie. And I'm just going to throw out weird random facts about it. No, it really worked for me. It really grabbed me. And I didn't know. I thought it's funny because this is an A24 movie. And it's, it seems befitting as A24 because it's fucking weird. But on the A24 scale, it is very accessible. And there's a lot of kids in the audience who obviously must have loved the shorts with their parents. And I highly recommend it. It really, really worked for me. I think it's like one of my favorites of the year. So I'm now a Marcel stan, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I can't wait to see this movie. 60 Minutes, I know, is part of it from the trailer. And it looks whimsical as fuck. And I can't wait.
Whimsical as fuck. That is the quote should go on.
That's the poll quote. Yeah, that's my Rex read on the back of the DVD. We skipped over this news because it was in this sort of 2-week gap that we weren't doing them, which is that Paddington 3 is official. Paddington in Peru, I believe.
Paddington in Peru, yo!
Yeah,
yes, trilogy. The trilogy will be complete.
Oh, they're gonna go back and they're gonna reveal that it was Sydney's brother the whole time. It's terrible.
Unsatisfying conclusion to the trilogy.
It's like could have been better.
It's not the same director, but he's involved in the story.
Yeah, secret sibling, big trilogy, premise. Okay, so my good thing to enjoy this week is I guess I can say it surprised me only because I'm not like a mega fan of this director. I appreciate Baz Luhrmann. I especially appreciate the fact that he doesn't make movies that often and it's sort of eventized. Like he makes movies every 6 or 7 years and it's kind of like this thing where they're always a big to-do. Like, what's the next Baz project? And I was okay with Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge, and I don't even think I saw Great Gatsby. His movies have always been fine to me. I always appreciate that he has a very, very specific style and take on these sort of historic old stories, especially with Shakespeare and then Moulin Rouge and stuff. And Great Gatsby. This is his Elvis biopic that just opened that I was captivated by from minute one in this movie.
Wow.
Like, it just worked. I am not an Elvis fan in any way either. I know the broad bullet points of Elvis's life. I know like kind of the vague trajectory of his career and the end of his life, but I don't know the specifics. I also wasn't looking for this movie to give me those specifics, knowing that it is a Baz Luhrmann biopic, that it's going to have a lot of style, sometimes over substance, and who's to say, as far as I'm concerned, what's fact and what's fiction? I have no idea. But I loved Elvis so much. I knew watching the trailer that Tom Hanks' performance as Colonel Parker, who is sort of Elvis Presley's career-long manager and our devil in disguise, like ruining him, Colonel Tom Parker, I knew that performance was going to be one that a trailer was not going to do justice for, because it is bizarre, and he's in this prosthetic, fat suit, and he's old, and he's doing a kooky accent. And I knew that, like, I am a weird defender of Cloud Atlas, and I kind of like when Tom Hanks goes for broke with something bizarre, and because he's great, he also puts his whole heart into it, like Nick Cage or anybody,
right?
And can sell you on shit even though you think you don't want it. And so he's great. The movie, I think, is outstanding. I like the way it's presented. I like there's a narration element to it where, and they hold back on Elvis a little bit. I'm not saying they wait to the third act like Jaws. I'm saying like they build anticipation for him, and it is remarkable. But I guess I'd have to say also that aside from Baz Luhrmann and his style and his use of music and different anachronistic music as well, is Austin Butler, who is absolutely phenomenal. Austin Butler, you may know if you watched growing up Disney shows, or like, what was it, like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, which went on for a few years. He was on Hannah Montana and iCarly. He was a kid actor who did tons of things, from everything from Zoe 101 to Wizards of Waverly Place. And then more recently in movies was Tex Watson in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's alternate history movie. So
that's really what I know him from. I mean, I watched the episodes of Arrow he was on, but it would definitely be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I think if you knew his upbringing as a kid performer for Disney, the fact that he is singing in this and dancing is less surprising, but not any less impressive. But also like, oh, okay, he's not like out of nowhere that this guy is coming in with just a riveting performance and also riveting stage presence. There are moments in this movie where his just actual stage movement is like, will bring tears to your eyes because he's just so good at it. And it doesn't feel like a facsimile or something like that. It feels pretty authentic. Anyway, I really recommend, as somebody who's not like a massive Baz Luhrmann fan, Elvis totally worked for me and I liked it.
I'll find out later today if I agree.
You're like, I hated it. This was,
but I think I'm similar to you on Luhrmann in that, admire him, don't always love him. Even the movies of his that I would say I really like or love, which include Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge, there's still moments of it where like the super pushed wacky comedy moments from like, that don't work.
I actually wouldn't say there's a lot of that in this movie. For me, I was really interested in, obviously there are iconic Elvis looks from different parts of his career that I really don't have any context for. I'm like, when did he perform on that stage with that all black leather outfit? When did he do this? When did the capes come in? Why was he like this? And like, this gives me, this grounds it all for me and lets me know what he was about. And also what it was like, obviously there were big celebrities before Elvis, but this was still in the infancy of Hollywood, like music and movies. As far as like before him, there was like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. There were big stars. There were obviously big kid stars. There were young stars. But like you and I, Eric, are growing up now with where it's celebrity is just so commonplace. Like you can become a megastar and tabloid fodder for anything, for TV, for movies and all this stuff. But like it was still this type of like fame prison was still a newish thing because these industries were exploding in different ways, Hollywood and music. They were still taking baby steps. And so it wasn't as common to get a national phenomenon and then worldwide phenomenon like Elvis, who was, we always think of Beatlemania, but he was before the Beatles. So it's really interesting to look at that aspect of pop culture history too. So this is not a historical document by any means. It is a Baz Luhrmann movie, but it's also interesting because of that.
We'll see what I think, but I'm excited for
it. Next week's main event is, so my pick for 1982 is another animated treat called The Last Unicorn. And you can see that via Stars or the Roku channel or Freebie, or you can rent it because none of those other ones are easy anyway. But yeah, the animated feature, The Last Unicorn from 1982. All right.
To be it.
Let's get into E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Let's.
E.T., Eric, aka Penis Breath Origins. E.T. is a good movie. Did you know that?
I would go so far to say I think it's a fucking perfect movie. Like rewatching it the other night, I was just like, Jesus Christ.
I think
Spielberg.
a lot of it
Christ.
works so well, and obviously it's made by a master filmmaker who still beginning of his career, which is crazy to say.
Right.
Spielberg had already under his belt Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then the year before this, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, it's amazing because it's like he'd had one bomb in 1941, but otherwise it was just insane that these were his movies that were kind of out of the gate, his huge Hollywood movies, giant blockbusters already. But it is funny to watch E.T. and remember that E.T. was the biggest movie of all time until Jurassic Park, until he Cameroned himself and beat himself. And how, because it was so huge and culturally so big, it really like solidified both Spielberg's reputation. Because if you look at the movies before that, it's like Jaws was a horror movie, and Raiders was this like old school action adventure, and even Close Encounters is like a bit of a like it's not like a sci-fi adventure movie quite. It's a little more cerebral. But this one I think really solidified him as like family entertainment, and even just I don't know. There's just like a lot of things about this movie that I realized, like, oh, this is really where we think of Spielberg.
Yeah,
where a lot of that comes
the
from.
Amblin experience,
The Amblin, kids on bikes.
Yeah, kids on bikes in the 80s,
that.
which not only would influence movies from the 80s after this, Kids on Bikes,
some that he produced, some that
but
he
also
didn't.
There's Stranger Things, like now,
Stranger
like,
Things, yes,
or Stephen King films or something like that, where it's like, kids on in the 80s riding
having
bikes,
an adventure,
trying to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And
was
riding
so,
around the
if
suburbs.
you were a kid in the 80s, so aspirational. It's like, I'm a kid, I have a bike.
Well, I did have a bike, but I wasn't in the suburbs. So I
I was a kid in the suburbs. So I was like, I'm going to ride on those.
I was like, I guess I'm going to push my bike to Riverside Park and then go down one of the designated pathways, I guess. Weird Matt story growing up. I know what a movie was at this point in my life because I'd seen them and I'd been in movie theaters,
Sure.
But for some reason, this was going to be a birthday outing for me. But the way somehow my mom described what we were doing didn't lead me to believe we were seeing a movie. It made me think we were going to see a play about kids trying to hide something in their closet. And I was like, I don't know what we're doing. My friends are coming. I don't know what we're seeing. But then, which, was just something that happened at the time because you couldn't pre-buy your seats on an app. We showed up and it was sold out. This was a huge movie that all of America was seeing, all the world was seeing. So we showed up for my birthday movie. It was sold out. I didn't even realize we were going to a movie theater. I was like, oh, it's a movie. I also didn't know what this was. I don't think I'd heard of E.T. before we were seeing it. So, and then this may also have been the birthday where on the ride back, my mom left all my presents on the bus.
No.
This may have been, I had some wonderful New York City birthdays. This may have been one. But
that's terrible.
And she tried, how naive she was, thinking she could try to call like mass transit and say that someone turned in the presents, like that was going to happen. Like they would be sitting.
And he wore a red coat and he had a white beard.
They were in the lost and found unopened somewhere. Anyway, so I don't actively remember when I did see E.T. or if it was in the theater. I don't remember. I just remember the attempt.
I actually have this, when I think about it, this is maybe my clearest early memory. I remember going to a lot of movies before this, but this I have a couple of very distinct memories of. And keeping in mind, like I saw Empire Strikes Back when it first came out, but I'm so young. I couldn't tell you when and where I saw it because it's just I remember seeing it, that I'd seen it and loved it. But E.T. I do remember two things I remember about E.T. were that my parents said, because I think we've mentioned that 1982 was a crazy, a lot of great movies came out in 82, but June 82 in particular is insane because June 82, Poltergeist, Star Trek 2, E.T., The Thing, and Blade Runner all opened. It's just a crazy run of great classic movies. But my parents said to me, do you want to go see the new Star Trek movie or do you want to see E.T.? And I didn't know anything about E.T. And I said, what's E.T.? And they showed me the newspaper ad. And I looked at the newspaper ad, which is the poster, the famous poster of Elliot and E.T.'s hands and the fingers touching.
Why does he have a hot dog finger? Is this everything everywhere all at
once?
No.
What I said was, it looked like a wrinkled hand. He is wrinkled. I said, I thought that's an old person's hand. I don't want to see a movie about an old person. Let's go see Star Trek 2, which was great, but also
you still don't want to see movies about old people.
Right. Terrified me for life because of the thing in the ear. So I saw Star Trek 2. Then a couple weeks later, we did go see E.T. And at this point, I did have the knowledge that this was a really popular movie. And it is definitely one of my, maybe the first memory I think I have of a giant line at the UA North Hollywood theater, where I saw a lot of things when I was tiny. I do remember I saw Empire Strikes Back there. I guess I do have that vague memory, but seeing the line in the parking lot of people, again, something that doesn't happen these days because we buy advanced seats, but just a snaking giant line of people. They probably had it on all 6 screens or most of the 6 screens. And so I do have that memory of like, this is a crazy thing. Like I've never waited like this to get into a movie. That is just a sensation, and that penis breath was the greatest thing I'd ever heard said in a movie.
So also I'm curious too, because you were in the suburbs of the Valley, which is that between this and Poltergeist, the Valley and or California suburbs weren't usually represented too often in the ways that Spielberg did, as also a producer of Poltergeist, which is to say, like, we're used to them in the Midwest. I think the Brady Bunch was one of the first to, like, I think they were in California, right? With their house. But like the nestled up against the Santa Clarita Basin Mountains in a way that you kind of didn't see before in movies, between Poltergeist and then E.T., seeing that, because Poltergeist was filmed in Simi Valley. This was filmed in Tahunga, which was behind Burbank, and also like Porter Ranch and Northridge. So it was all over the North Valley, and represented that, so that you can get moments like E.T. looking out and seeing the valley, basically. And so that also for you must have been pretty cool. I actually remember because growing up as a Valley boy, that meant that Universal Studios was a very local theme park, just a few minute drive away, and something I went to a lot as a kid, way more than Disneyland, because Disneyland was a longer drive and more money. And I remember on the tour that they would mention that we were basically, when you're on the tour at Universal, and Universal Studios, for those who don't know, is up on a hill here in the Valley, that at one point you're driving on the tram and they're like, this is the view. This is basically where they filmed E.T.'s point of view when he crashes and it's the Valley. So I think that it was not the movie itself. I didn't clock that because I was too young. Well, we knew they were in California because he's pointing to it on the globe. So
yes.
I just took it to mean they were. For me, they were just living in Porter Ranch. It's fine. Like
they meant, They don't say it explicitly, but that's fine. Like another great movie of 1982, Fast Times, which doesn't say it's in the Valley. It's the Valley. But yeah, so that was. I think I clocked that later. But I was all in on E.T. I loved it, and I had a toy that everyone loves to make fun of now because they should. Because I think even when I was a kid, at a certain point, I realized it was funny, which was the E.T. Light up finger toy that just looks like a dick. It was a finger you put over your finger.
I mean, his toy looked like a dick because his finger looked like a dick. So
yes, but especially on its own in a package, a finger not attached to a hand that you put over your finger, so it elongates your finger, and then if you push in the inside, if you push the tip, Matt, but from the inside, it lights up.
Does it ever? How don't I know it?
It was basically like the Boys season premiere because you're touching it from the inside. Anyway,
it's basic. Yeah.
Anyway, I was definitely a huge. After my initial, I don't want to see a movie about an old person. I do remember seeing E.T., remember that line, and remember loving it quite a bit.
All right. Pretty good cast here, especially when you consider its child actor discoveries, and that's another big strength of this movie are the kids, the siblings. Dee Wallace's kids. Phenomenal. Henry Thomas, Drew Barrymore obviously would go on. Drew Barrymore would go on to be a big star. Henry Thomas would also work quite a bit, and then has now sort of made a resurgence with Mike as one of the Flanagan players, the Mike Flanagan players. Yeah. It's so funny to know that this kid would grow up to be a doppelganger of Jack Nicholson's Jack Torrance in the sequels to The Shining, which he was very good at. But also it's like, you think when we were talking about how this kind of people think of this as sort of like the core Spielberg experience. Spielberg had already, in Jaws, there's that great scene where
Roy Schneider and his son, where the son is like mimicking him.
Oh,
And there's the little boy in Close Encounters, but he never centered the kid. He'd already proven he was great with kids, but he hadn't centered the kids until this. And yeah, the performances he gets from these kids, obviously he found great child actors, but unlike his buddy George Lucas, he's great with child actors.
He's so good.
And gets them to feel so natural. On screen.
This unexpectedly got me to remember the movie that I left out from my plane trips, which was Those Who Wish Me Dead, which was I watched because it was a smoke jumper movie, first and foremost. Secondly, it was a Tyler Sheridan written.
This is the Angelina Jolie one?
Yes. So I watched, that was one of the things I also watched. And I remember it because the kid actor, whose name I don't remember or even knew, was really good in it. So yeah, a good kid actor can just help. Yeah. We are used to giving kids a lot of leeway. So if there's a mid kid actor, Eric, or a bad kid actor, we can forgive it because usually the adult will carry that scene with their performance. But man, when a good kid actor hits, it is so good. And Spielberg not only is great with kids, but also one of the things that really stood out in this movie for me, even back when I saw it and in the years following it, is that he's really good with people talking over each other, making scenes feel really naturalistic by having conversations happen, side conversations, people not waiting for someone to finish their line before they say their line. Just, it brings an essence of life and naturalism to these family scenes that really, really work well. So I remember the D&D scene, and I remember everyone just talking at once, and it wasn't chaos. It just feels really organic and welcoming, like in a way that he can do. And again, with those small moments like in Jaws and stuff like that, where it feels really precise and also warm and inviting. I love it. So yeah, you get that here with this family. And then also with this movie, you get the atypical, at least even in 82, broken home, single mom raising these kids in a suburbia, and the exploration of loneliness. Like Jurassic Park, Eric, this doesn't have a strong twisty-turny plot, this movie. This is very straightforward. Kid finds alien, kid helps alien get home, and there's not much more to it. And I know you said the ear shit, the ear slug alien things and Wrath of Khan freak you out. There's scary elements in this movie too. I was freaked out when the fucking astronauts came through the door and then everything became a lab and
yes, that was very striking as a kid.
It was very scary when you're a kid growing up. So yeah, there's this movie, while not Poltergeist, did still contain those movies that you remember as a kid as freaking you the hell out. And so this movie wasn't just all cutesy, jokes with E.T. getting drunk or doing silly things. There was some grown-up stuff going on too. And then stuff that as a kid, I wasn't, even though I was being raised by a single mother myself, I wasn't in tune with the need for companionship and or the need for a father figure. Because even Peter Coyote's character, who comes in later, is a warm character.
It turns out.
If you were to extend beyond this movie, you're maybe he, is somebody who's gets to be sort of a father figure. The relationship maybe doesn't end when this movie ends, because he's designed to feel menacing in a certain way as he's credited as being called Keys, but I don't know if that's an actual nickname because he's noted by his keychain, or if his name is actually Keys, or if his buddies call him Keys because he carries
he carries the keys. I remember the novelization of this book, which brought up the keys a lot, and I think made it just a nickname.
Yeah, the Keymaster. Yes. Okay, so this movie, let's get into the movie. The movie opens with kind of an ominous, not the John Williams score, but almost not the Thing opening that Secret of Nim had with the titles, but a very sci-fi ethereal score that doesn't sound Williamsy before going into something more orchestrated. And we basically open with aliens. So they do hold back on the ET face reveal, but not like the slug silly walking in a distance of these many aliens in the forest foraging around. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know. It's much like Stonehenge. We don't know what they were doing or why they were here. But they.
I think that there's because it's really interesting to me rewatching it now. Things that as a kid I just wouldn't think about, but first 8 minutes of this movie are dialogue free.
Yeah,
and they're also face free because we're seeing the aliens in silhouette, and we're also seeing the humans because the FBI agents are so menacing. It's like until way later in the movie, we're not going to see Peter Coyote's face.
Well,
nor
so
any
I
of the
read.
face.
Yeah, what did I read that? All the adults, including the teachers, except for the mom, were filmed from the waist down or the torso down, and it was almost. He said it was a nod to the Tex Avery animated show, like animation.
Okay.
But it also does create an air of mystery and sort of an ominous presence of adults, right, in this movie. And in fact, I also read, and I haven't even seen this, I'm sure it's online, that there was a deleted scene where Harrison Ford was in this movie, unseen, only from the back or the torso down, as the principal in a scene where Elliot actually gets in trouble and goes after the frog incident and goes to the office, which was cut from the final showing of the movie. But yeah, so aside from
that scene was on one of the like DVD or Blu-ray releases, and they used to show it in the queue for the ride. I remember. They
cool,
special features. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why it's not like a jagged left turn, but it's a really cool thing when like when Key starts talking to Elliot at the end, and he is a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's like that line when he said, "I'm glad he found you." Like I was crying. Like it's really nice. Like that he is taking the time and he actually cares, because it's set up that these are evil people who storm in these, in masks and like just take people away, because so much of it, no one's talking to Elliot. And that's another scary part of that scene at the end, is that all of the scientists are talking to each other, but no one is talking to the panicking, sad kid.
Right.
No one is saying everything's going to be okay. They're ignoring him. And that's scary to watch when you're a kid. And so Peter Coyote's character coming in and sort of engaging with him in that way is very touching.
I think this opening, it's so effective, because when I was a kid, could I have explained to you everything I understand as an adult? I'm sure not, yet it still grabbed me because, like I said, there's 8 minutes without dialogue, but we get it's a great example of like, just enough world building as far as like that these are, they're collecting plants from around the galaxy, and we see a little bit of glimpse, like the only time we go on their ship, we see like, that they have these other alien plants, and we can get the idea that they've been going around collecting these. And the fact that ET is, left behind, not because they mean to ditch him, but because they're like, dude, we got to get out of here.
First of all, we can all agree, these are fucking nerds, these aliens.
Yeah.
Secondly, they're bad aliens, because this is like Peter Coyote's character, we learn later, has been hoping for this first contact since he was 10. And these bozos just wander into the valley and they're like, "Hey, look at our ship." Everyone sees this ship take off, they're like exit stage left.
They just like their plants, man. Let them study their plants.
I also like to amusingly think that this is a prequel to Independence Day, and that they somehow like the weird like plant branch of this conquering alien society, and then like decades later,
let's nuke them. Let's get them.
They come back and just destroy cities.
Everything, by the way, is so effective here as far as like, especially if we're talking about like the human, like making Keys and that the FBI agents menacing, is like there's a close up of like a car muffler running, and it's like very creepy, and the feet in the water, like it's just
also like, so in the use of light in this movie, like flashlights and even the light from the shed is really harsh. So later on, not just when Elliot's using a flashlight to look around, but like when they break into the house to look around and like using their flashlights, and it's very glaring and it's very intrusive. And yeah, it builds up sort of there's a sort of a background radiation of scariness in this movie, of the unknown, but also like this harshness that's just out there always. And it also just sort of coats the movie more with, the element of that. They don't hide it. Like they talk about like how the dad left for another woman, we assume, right?
Right.
And just left everyone high and dry. And one part of this movie, while you can also get distracted by the fact that he's like showing ET Star Wars figures and being like, here's Boba Fett, which is insane because we're literally getting Boba Fett shows right now.
Right.
But like it's really moving, that scene, in a way you don't quite expect, because he's like, here, and here's Pez. He's not just showing him things in his room. He is, but it's like, this is a kid who just so desperately wants to blab at someone.
Yes.
Kids need that. It's not venting. They just want to tell you all the things they like and all the things they think are cool and show you things. And they don't need you to say anything back. Like, they really just want you to kind of listen to them. And you can nod and go, oh, that's cool or something. But like, it's a big deal that someone is there for a kid to do that to. His dad's no longer there.
Right.
He can't share the things he likes in that way anymore. And so he's doing it to E.T. That got me big. And I don't think that was something that I would have realized as a kid at all.
No. But yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking, by the way, to talk about our broken homes.
Yeah.
My parents were still together when I saw this with both my parents, but about 2 years later, they split up.
Yeah, because when you moved to New York, they were like freshly split.
My dad was freshly remarried. Married.
Oh, he was already remarried when you moved?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that was like,
okay. I so my broken home situation is that for better or for worse, I don't remember my parents together. So they broke up when I was like 2, and my mom took me to New York. So I don't. So for me, growing up later, it was weird to see them together and be like, oh yeah, you guys were a couple. Eric and I both have older siblings who obviously remember had a different growing up with like a mom and dad together. Eric and I got a different third act. So
yes. Was it a good title, Matt?
Yeah. So then let's see. So we get the kid actors are all great. C. Thomas Howell is one of the friends. We've got Henry Thomas. We've got breakthrough star. Both of them are breakthrough stars, but also because she was younger for this, which is Drew Barrymore as Gertie,
who's just amazing, immediately killing it with like when she is mimicking like alligators in the sewers, a deformed kid. Like, it's just like, what the hell? Like, this is insane how adorable this kid is and precocious. And
yeah, so good. And then the brother, who is really good in this movie, didn't really go on to do all that much, did a lot of theater. Was in a few more movies and TV stuff.
Robert McNaughton.
Didn't do as much as the other people. And then we've got Dee Wallace, who is very famous for this movie, but also for her Scream Queen efforts in Howling and Cujo, and even up to like 90s stuff like The Frighteners. And she was still doing Critter stuff, I think, recently. She's also interestingly a Rob Zombie player now, who obviously also Rob Zombie loves horror movies, big shock, but like got her in some of his movies. It was in Lords of Salem and some other things. But yeah, so
and by the way, I was curious, how old do you think Dee Wallace was when this movie opened, Matt?
Okay, so I would imagine she was now, but like, do I answer honestly? Do I like use the sliding scale for like what people looked like in certain ages in '82? Is that okay? I would think, obviously I would think she's 40 in this movie. She's being made, with 3 kids. One is like an older teenager, right?
Yeah.
So I would think she's 40, but also maybe 35, right? Or 30, but like, you can't think 30 with Chris McNaughton's character. So
Robert McNaughton.
McNaughton.
She's playing. I mean, you were pretty right on your second one. She when this movie opened, she was 34, so she's probably 33 when she made it. And Robert McNaughton was 16 when this came out. It's probably 15 when he made it. So basically, I don't think she's supposed to have had a mic when she was 17. I just think they cast, she was playing older, but it was very funny to me.
Definitely think, like, if you said she was supposed to be 40 or 42, I would have bought it as well. So yeah.
Yeah. But it is one of those things that, like, when you're a kid, adults all just seem old to you. So the fact that it's like she was only 34.
E.T. seems like an old man to you too.
Yeah, I thought E.T. was an old man.
The E.T. old man finger. So yeah, basically Elliot, they're playing D&D, which is a very 1982 thing. And I remember my older brother playing D&D, and I wanted to watch, and he didn't want me to, but he let me. and it was so boring because I didn't realize that when you get together and play D&D, you also just shoot the shit with your friends. And so I was upset that they weren't playing. Like, it's like, oh, when you like get to the playing of D&D, and they, you know, they would every so often, but mostly they were just talking. I was like, I don't have time for this shit.
I just, having watched ET many times in my life, I made a brand new discovery this time about the D&D scene, which, by the way, when I was a kid, I didn't clock was D&D because I never played D&D. I never played a role-playing game. I still haven't. Now just because D&D again is like sort of bigger than ever, it's more like, oh, look, they're playing D&D. But the closing credits of this movie, Matt, because I just had it on, I knew there was no post-credit scene, but I had the closing credits on the other night when I was watching, and there was a song credit that made me go, what? And go and find what scene it was in, which was a song that is in two movies I love that are James Gunn connected. The Dawn of the Dead 2004, which he wrote, and the Suicide Squad, which he wrote and directed, which is Jim Carroll's People Who Died.
Yep.
Is playing in the D&D scene in ET. That song, it's pretty low level, so it's not like prominent, but we open our first scene with people talking. That is the song playing, and I thought that was awesome because I didn't realize the song went back that far. I had no idea it was in one of the biggest movies of all time before it was in these two other great movies of the last 20 years.
I pulled up very randomly a story here, an interview from 2017 when E.T. was only 35 years old, where Robert McNaughton is telling the story of playing D&D at Harrison Ford's house. So I'll have to read that afterwards. Elliot hears something in the shed. Everyone thinks it's Elliot being Elliot, or at least they think it's raccoons and stuff like that. And so from after this, Elliot starts really wanting to figure out what's going on outside and makes sort of like, does his own junior snooping, and discovers ET. We'll just get into this here. In the cornfield, we get the first big screaming
first look
scene,
at his face.
The first look at very quick glimpse of his face and screaming, and knowing that this is a creature who not only gets spooked very easily, but also lets out a wail that's very silly sometimes, especially when he runs with his arms up, making that noise, going, ah! It's silly, Eric. And I enjoy it. So, but yeah, then basically, in a big moment for this movie, which was that the use of Reese's Pieces to entice E.T. to come to like trust him and eat them, and then also follow a trail of this candy into his house. Elliot gets E.T. into his room, and man, what a time to catch the sleepies. What if you've got an alien in your home and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. What a time to for the Sandman to strike.
Reese's Pieces, which would see one of the most direct, like, huge sale boosts based on being part of popular media. Mm-hmm. Their sales would skyrocket because of this movie, and it would be a famous, like, whoops moment because it was scripted to be M&M's. In fact, the novelization, it was M&M's because they never got around to changing it. But they turned it down. They thought the movie might be too scary for kids.
What a bunch
of Reese's benefited.
No-nos. What a bunch of fucking mistake-making clowns. I think, is this the first? So this movie obviously influenced so many stories that came after it. Was this the first kind of movie where lonely kid finds, other lonely creature and befriends it type movie, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, again, and probably not in the same way that is like, look, I imagine people can be like, hey, there were movies with, boys on bikes having adventures before this. It's not to say no movie had ever done anything like that, just to have it done so well and become
into this level and this degree. Yeah. This movie made almost like $800 million, I guess, over the years.
Yeah.
Including, I'm assuming there were re-releases at some point, but
yeah, there was a 20th anniversary one, because when I saw the 20th anniversary one, I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I did not expect it to make me cry the way it did. Spoiler alert, that especially E.T.'s death, because of course it's undone so quickly after. I didn't expect to be like crying over, that. Like,
yeah,
oh my God,
because what happened. It turns out fine. Except that when he goes back, he is tortured and punished by his by his other aliens for being so stupid as to be left behind. You gave us away. You alerted them to alien life.
Right. And the 20th anniversary, because the Star Wars Special Edition was so successful that we got some major theatrical re-releases in a way that hasn't happened recently. I guess Avatar's going to do it in September, though. But, that's when we got the Grease re-release and The Exorcist, the version you've never seen. And we got E.T., which included, of course, the infamous, replacing the guns with walkie-talkie thing with that, which I had to point out to some people on Twitter. Spielberg has completely been on record that he regretted, and that version is not available anymore. Again, he and George Lucas best friends, but they have different philosophies on certain things. And so it almost felt like George peer pressured him and you got to change stuff. And then he was like, oh, why did I do that? And
art is never finished. Yeah.
Right. And so now when you buy ET digitally, it is the theatrical version. And Spielberg's like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. And I won't do that again.
So, by the way, so Elliot the next morning, after falling asleep in the presence of an alien life form, fakes having a fever so he can stay home with his new cosmic friend. Elliot's rainbow blinds are awesome.
Oh my God, they're so great. I put that new.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I would. Yeah, those are great.
By the way, kudos to whoever helped him hang some of those Star Wars ships on why. I wish
it's sad. It was his dad. It's very sad.
Before Mexico.
And so then this is when he he's with ET. He blabs to him about the Pez dispenser and his favorite toys. And there's obviously a lot of Star Wars stuff in this movie because the older brother does a Yoda impersonation, and then there's the Yoda costume moment during the Halloween.
And obviously, that's for his buddy, his buddy George.
So the middle of the movie is very fun. It's ET antics, it's hijinks, it's the learning that Elliot and ET are sort of emotionally, mentally, and physically connected in a different way. Which I think the first time I realized is when ET opens the umbrella and scares himself, and Elliot's downstairs and he gets startled. He drops the milk everywhere. Glad he cleaned it up too. I was worried about that. But then also the hiding of ET, the revealing of ET to both Michael, the older brother, and then Gertie, which happens. That happens earlier than my childhood memories. Like in my childhood memories, Elliot was the only one who knew for a lot more of the movie. Yeah, they bring in the kids, and it becomes a sort of a sibling bond, The Secret, and with some fun moments. Like ET pretending that he's a doll. The drunk scene where she and then there's a moment when the mom comes home and he's always just behind her or behind in the fridge door, knocks him over, and Drew Barrymore killing it, being like, I want you to meet my friend. Yeah, so good. What did she say? I think she said that he just killed him when she knocks him over. And she said, there's a lot of famous stories from the set of this movie that Drew Barrymore is so young that she would basically talk to the ET puppet like it was alive between takes. And that's what she acts like in the movie. She's just talking to him, just very matter of fact. And then Baywatch's Erica Laniak is a blonde girl. Who I would enjoy in the pages of Playboy and doing a striptease in Under Siege 10 years after this. Was the classmate who Elliot kisses during his drunken frog releasing rampage. Yes. By the way, I wanted her character is a little contradictory. I realize, because she is actually spotted earlier when the kids are getting on the bus. Yeah, and she seems to say hi to him in a way that makes you think she likes him. Yeah. She has a crush. Yeah, but then when he smiles at her, she well, he's also being fucking weird, Eric. He's drunk. Yes, he's definitely being weird. Although Elliot has a pretty great insult in that same bus scene, which was the zero charisma, and he keeps yelling at one of Mike's dick friends. Well, that's also I feel like that's also a D&D thing, right? So there you go. Okay. So it works on any level. You don't have to be playing D&D to get zero charisma. Very good. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then this is also when and then Gertie teaches ET to speak, so there's some communication going on. The whole very, very famous ET phone home, which gets brought back in the third act. It's the catchphrase from this movie, along with "ouch," which it gets a funny moment during the Halloween scene where Mike, I guess, is a terrorist.
That's a whole interesting, funny thing about and I think I don't know if we've mentioned this on the podcast or just something I've talked about with various friends over the years, which is the early 80s pop cultureification of terrorism.
There's terrorists in Back to the Future. Like
terrorists in Back to the Future. G.I. Joe Cobra explicitly identified in the opening credits of a cartoon we would watch every afternoon has a ruthless terrorist organization. A very strange time because terrorists had done awful things, mind you. It wasn't like this was early terrorism that they weren't so bad. We're coming off of crazy dark shit in the late 70s. But it was a strange time of just like, oh, that's a go-to bad guy is a terrorist. And so, yeah, Mike wants to be
I
a
think we were in the era too of the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran, who had just come into power in 79. And there were terrorist incidents, very famous ones happening around the globe and at the Olympics and stuff like that. There was just a lot happening in the Middle East. And so, yeah, it made its way into American movies in the early 80s and then throughout the 80s as well. And in a way that we hadn't seen before. It was just a new form of political strife that was separate from the Cold War and that everyone was dealing with. And so, it matriculated into movies, even E.T. in this way, and then also Back to the Future. Those were Libyan terrorists, but yeah.
I will say also, by the way, about the Eric Melaniak kissing moment, that kid that Elliot steps on to kiss her because she's taller than him. He just kind of lays there, like he just like.
I couldn't tell if he was knocked down and it was sort of convenient, or if he was like helping Elliot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gave him a step up to sort of make his height equal. But yeah, I mean, Elliot could have embraced his status as a short king, but no, he wanted to be a little taller. Then there's the iconic look of E.T. in the wig and the woman's outfit, and then E.T. in the ghost costume.
Well, also
a lot of silly.
But also, this is when E.T. starts to speak English.
Well, we did. Yeah, E.T. phone home.
Gertie is the one who her Sesame Street and Gertie helped teach him how to talk. Thank you, Sesame Street. You're great. Also, by the way, I didn't remember, and so I'm glad the movie explains. I'm like, oh, okay. Gertie and Elliot have a shared closet, which is why A, Elliot has such a huge closet, and B, why all those stuffed animals are in there that I didn't think Elliot would have. It's him and Gertie have one big closet that connects their bedrooms.
I guess they call it a Jack and Jill closet, I guess.
Yeah.
I've heard of Jack and Jill bathrooms, but closet, that would have been cool.
Elliot has a great line here, by the way, with when Gertie puts him in the dress and wig, you should give him his dignity. Again, these kids just killing it with their delivery. It's not that like stilted, like, because there's bad kid acting and then there's kid acting that's too professional, that's too like well delivered. Everyone sounds very natural here and just like real kids. It's very impressive.
And this is also when
Mike gets to say shit a lot, which
means he's older and he's more mature, and he gets to say shit, keeping this a PG movie. This E.T. starts realizing he needs to phone home, and is able, technologically advanced and skilled enough to build stuff out of scraps, and also a speak and spell, which was big in the early 80s. I had one.
Oh yeah, very big.
Texas Instruments stuff was super. I don't know if it was super cool, but it was super prevalent.
It was super prevalent, and what he builds is a great just like selling the idea of like what he's doing as far as like the weirdness of like the turntable and the blade, and
it was like a saw blade and a fork and but it all works. And then it's kind of, as Elliot and E.T. are simultaneously becoming more decrepit, Elliot starts coughing, which I don't care if you get a zombie bite or anything in a movie, like any character coughs, something bad's going to happen. But they very sad, even before the saddest moments of this movie. E.T. even trying to like contact to get home. Elliot's like, I could take care of you. Please stay. Like, just stay with me. But also skipped over the fact here, the first flying moment.
Yes.
The first big, because the crowd pleasing, the huge big crowd pleasing one comes at the end with all the bikes. but it happens earlier with the main part of the John Williams score sort of like erupting as E.T. stops Elliot's bike from plummeting off a cliff and makes it fly in the night.
A wonderful moment, and
a corporate logo from there,
yes, Amblin's logo to this day, and which got that cool like redo with I think Jurassic World on John Williams. Look, it's not like we're saying anything new here to say John Williams is great at writing music, but this is one of those movies along with Star Wars where it's like he is such a crucial part of the filmmaking process, and making these obviously Spielberg would have made a great movie without him, but that Spielberg is quick to say that he is like solidifies all these moments and underlines them and just makes them all better. And I also wanted to backtrack just a second to say the Halloween stuff, very funny with E.T. trying to heal the fake knife wound. And also when the famous seeing Yoda and trying to follow the kid dressed as Yoda because it reminds him of himself. This is the first time I noticed that John Williams does a little bit of quoting him. The Yoda theme plays, like he quotes himself in the score, and Yoda's theme plays a little bit there.
Getting ahead, we always knew Yoda was a Jedi, but like actually putting him in that specific brown robe, it was like
yes.
The kid was matching ideas. I approve. I thought it was pretty cool.
And don't forget that Lucas would eventually put a group of the ET race in the Phantom Menace in the Senate.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you can say that ET recognized Yoda because he actually knows members of that race.
He does. They've been allies from a long time ago in a galaxy far away. But
millions of years.
In the past, he's like he probably saw that race in history books.
Right.
He was like, oh, it's like what I learned in school. The Yodas. All right.
This is when things start to get grim and sad, which was when E.T. They have the great moment of the device is working, but then when when Elliot wakes up and he's very sick and he can't find E.T.
Yeah, and then also he worries his mom to death because he doesn't come home. But then so Mike actually goes out, finds E.T. basically
loses the FBI first
at death's door. Yeah, he finds
a meme.
Switchback. He does a switchback.
Yes. He finds a meme because E.T. laying in that bit of water has become a bit of meme for like if you're feeling shitty. Sometimes people use that image, but it's sad and disturbing.
Yes, I feel like that's America right now.
Yes, there you go.
That meme. So
hey, Elliot says we're sick. I think we're dying. There you go.
And this is when the scariest part of the movie happens, which is when the people in like full Buzz Aldrin astronaut gear walk through the door, not just like biohazard suits or like lab tech stuff, but like in full like man on the moon, one giant leap for mankind, like astronaut costumes, which is almost like dreamlike. You think that like someone's going to wake up from that because it seems like this isn't who walks through your door, government or not.
And this made a big impression on me as a kid because it is very unsettling. And then what happens to the house and those, do you call them umbilical cords?
Yeah, they're like umbilicuses. Like those types of like tunnels.
It was very freaky. Like,
and then the shot of all of them walking down the street in a row.
Yeah.
Right. I think of what year was Witness?
Like 2 years later, I think it was 84
Witness
or 85.
Yeah, so it was later, but like the moment in the third act of Witness when like the bad guys are walking up to the Amish community and like over that hill, and it reminds me of that too, where it's like there's not obviously these might not be evil people, but that is a very nefarious entrance as far as like the way that they walk like that, just reservoir dogging down like the North Valley street.
Right. And Mary, which is E. Wallace's character, is like yelling, screaming, "This is my home." Like it's it's all like, it turns into a horror movie here.
And then, we've already talked about this at the top, which is that, it's very scary seeing this kid like pleading for his friend's life and no one's listening to him. And then Keyes is the only one who is like warm and friendly, and like, you can almost insert your own backstory for Keyes because we don't learn that much about him, but like maybe it's like he doesn't approve of a lot of the tactics, but this is the way that he can like contribute as best he can. And he's also been fascinated with space and extraterrestrial life. And like he may be one of the good ones among these sort of cold bureaucrats. And But again,
he still can't help. Yeah, it's like he says, you know, I don't think him being left here was intentional, but him being here is a miracle, which he sees through like optimistic eyes, yet still it wants to like exploit him, even though it turns out he's not a bad person. Like, you know, he still is like, how can this help us? It's great, but not seeing like, you know, maybe we should just let him leave.
But there's a medical emergency because they're trying to also save Elliot and figure out what's going on. And so again, there's an understandable element here of like, there is no time to lose, like trying to console Elliot, even though it's super scary, because his life is in danger. And it's not intentional on ET's part, but something's happening. The symbiotic relationship is super diseased and damaging to Elliot, and both of them actually. Is ET in that moment sort of sacrifice himself to save Elliot? Does he let himself die? Like, what happens there?
I don't know. It's like
Elliot gets better once ET sort of like relinquishes a little bit. Like
right. Like once their connection, they're not having that same like, you know, sort of psychic connection.
It seems like he sort of lets himself go in a way that he knows how to help save Elliot, and he does. He chooses to do so.
Right. But it seems to me that I think the implication is that he's probably letting himself go, and he is going to die until he senses that his race is coming for him.
Oh yeah, his chest lights up, and that's sort of it was established in the opening minutes that's sort of the signal to like draw them back to the ship. And
but again, you know, testament to this movie is that I tweeted this the other night when I was watching spoilers for Star Trek 2 and 3, guys. But you know, the same month this movie opened, the movie I chose to see first, Star Trek 2 has an amazing death scene that makes me cry every time I watch it, even though that character will come back to life in the next movie. So that knowledge does not stop it from being a wonderful, sad, emotional scene. And then this movie has a wonderful, sad, emotional death that will be undone within minutes. So testament to both those movies that it doesn't matter. You know, I know that people are like, there's no stakes. They came back.
It doesn't matter because if you're invested in the performance of the characters in that moment, it's real for them. It doesn't matter. Like you can watch Kirk and Spock always, and it's that moment is still real and happening. And what the future holds doesn't matter in that moment because you're still there and present. And then the rest of the movie at that point, once Elliot gets better, becomes teen alien heist, which is it's fun and like getting ET to the woods, to his ship, and complete with the cops chasing the kids, and it becomes a little more the cops and scientists become a little less like villainous and more just like antagonistic because it's a chase scene and it's meant to be a little
although
more fun.
They are cocking a shotgun.
They are like but in that moment like that's when ET like makes them all fly, and a wonderful like obviously them in the air, there's a lot of green screen and that's just what it was at the time, but the taking off part looks great. Like
it does like, and by the way, also ET looks great.
The puppetry and the movement of ET. That also reminds me of Drew Barrymore's line, I don't like his feet, which felt like something that
she probably just
said
yes
and was just added to the scene.
Yes. Very likely
because I don't like his feet either, Gertie.
Right,
same.
It's funny because it is a tonal shift, but Spielberg gets to show a little bit of like Indiana Jonesy stuff with like the van driving with the tube still attached and the bad guys in it. I was like, oh, that's a very sort of Jurassic-y Indiana Jones type adventure.
Well, just the year before we got a drag behind a truck scene, so yeah, it makes sense. In Raiders. And then the
matter of fact way that Mike's friends, who again established in the opening playing D&D, they're in the movie throughout, but it's funny how they kind of come very, you know, centered in the end and became a big impression on kids everywhere and movies for the 80s and Stranger Things today. But I do like how Elliot, because this is a lean movie, it's just like, hey, we're telling the story, we don't need to do anything extraneous. So Elliot's saying to the other kids, he's a man from space, we're taking him to a spaceship. It's just like that's our mission, and they help them, and it's great.
And great soaring through the sky moment for all the kids, and then the touching goodbye where ET says goodbye to Gertie, Michael, and then Elliot, and the putting his dick finger on the tear. And
ET, but first, Matt, when ET says come, and Elliot says stay.
Yeah, it's all I know, it's all great. It's all great and horrible. I agree.
And the decision, like I said about like this lean in the great way, it's like I love that this movie ends the way it ends, and there's not a morning after scene, like, you know, which is
and that reminds me, and I don't know if it was just sort of indicative of the 80s. It's very much, I don't know why it reminded me of this per se. I guess it's the same type of thing, really. How the Karate Kid movies ended with the victory of the fight. Like it was never like the fallout of the fight. It's like, oh yeah, you won the All Valley.
And famously, the first movie was supposed to have the whole confrontation with Kreese in the parking lot, and they realized it was better to not, you know, in that first movie.
So I think we need to get back to that. I think we need to get back to just, hey, we won, and you imagine the end game, the fallout. That's fine.
But especially because it's such a, you know, as you know, we've talked about, there's, you know, the whole, like, you know, Elliot and ET and their love for each other, and Elliot's like search for, like, you know, whether it be a direct father figure or just this connection he was lacking. It's all about that, the emotional core. So no scene we could have the next day or a week later of Elliot giving a speech about like, that.
The only thing I'm left wanting in this is a better life for Mary, because and we can imagine that if Keyes moves in and becomes their new stepdad or something right. If we want to read my ET fanfic about Mary and Keyes, but like we can imagine that. But it's also like she has some sad moments in this movie, and in Halloween she's super lonely, right? Like and just like she's been left, and we don't, and then at the end she kind of has to forget about all of her own personal sadness because her kids are in peril. And like, her story kind of, we don't get any resolution. In fact, we just hope that she has an easier and more fulfilling life going forward than she has right now. So that's the only fallout. But yeah, it's nothing the movie needs. And yeah, it would definitely, with that, those goodbyes and the spaceship taking off and the John Williams score, anything else would have just sort of deflated the film a bit. So
yeah, and I'm so glad they never made a sequel. Like, you know, again, it's like, you know, there are movies that, you know, this movie, it's sort of got a fable fairy tale feel to it, especially the way it opens. I thought about this, how because they don't even bother, and again, this is a testament to the movie. The movie doesn't even bother showing the ship arriving. Like, the ship is just sitting there at the beginning, and the aliens are collecting plants. And it shouldn't. It feels totally appropriate the way it's done. So, you know, I know that once or twice there had been talk of a sequel, and Spielberg had batted ideas around and ultimately decided it shouldn't happen. And I think that's very correct.
Oh, yeah.
Like this movie needs to exist on its own, you know?
You and I are very much hardwired at this point in our lives to just ignore sequels we don't like and just be like, hey, you know what? The first one's still great and nothing changes that. But in this case, we can actually just we don't have to ignore anything that comes after,
exactly.
If it was necessary, which is, you know, occasionally we'll get the sequel that I really love, you know, like to movies that we also loved originally. Like I love Blade Runner 2049, but like that's hardly a guarantee with sequels ever. So, yeah, and E.T. on its own, fantastic. Leave it that way forever.
Yep. But I will say, I very much enjoy the Universal Studios ride, and I'm sad it's no longer here in Hollywood, and glad it's still in Orlando. And hope
oh man, I loved that last part where E.T. butchers everyone's fucking name as you're leaving. For those who don't know, the E.T. ride, you tell them your name going in, and then as you leave, E.T. is like, goodbye,
thank you,
goodbye, Eric, Matthew. This, except it sounds way worse.
And the more complicated the name, the more he'll butcher it. It's also because that ride does take you to E.T.'s planet, and it's just bizarre. But my favorite part of that ride is the first half, which is
especially since it's all an orgy. That was really weird.
Yes, the first half is just
it was just the Purge planet from Rick and Morty.
You on a bicycle esque ride vehicle going through darkly lit woods. And riding over a cop car, and it's just like a cool ambiance of, like, you know, being chased, trying to escape with ET. Then it gets weird on ET's planet, but I love it. But that's all I need, and it's not canon. It's great, and the movie is perfect on its own.
Yeah, and that was ET. One of the biggest movies of all time, biggest movie of that year, certainly. And has since, and you know, for a movie in 1982 to make as much money as it did, it was sort of unheard of. Once more, you know, solidifying, cementing Spielberg as a master filmmaker and also master of crowd-pleasing blockbuster movies that, you know, aren't mindless. That aren't, you know, like you can say the Transformers movies make a shit ton of money, but they are not rewarding emotionally. Sorry out there for all the Michael Bay Transformers movie fans. I know there are fans.
Yes, they didn't make that much money without there being fans. Now, yeah, I mean, again, it's crazy to be like, yeah, Spielberg didn't have anything to prove, having made Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Close Encounters, but just the fact that this movie would beat Star Wars, you know, as the most successful movie ever at the time. Just, yeah, all the elements coming together, you know, becoming this kind of movie. I mean, the same thing would happen with Cameron, who had a bunch of hits, huge hits before Titanic, but then made a movie that becomes that true. Every decade or so, you have to see this movie, even if you don't go to the movies, like, you know, like something that will get people who just don't even go to the movies, or if they go to the movies, go once a year or once every 2 years to go check it out. And that's what this was.
And we will continue 1982 next week with another one of my weird picks that is not as emotionally rewarding, I'm sure. I haven't seen it in a while, so it'll be interesting to catch up with The Last Unicorn.
It's going to destroy us both.
It's going to be like, oh my God, what this slept on gem of 82. I do think it, I do remember enjoying it and also being creeped out by it, as much of the kids' movies of that era did. You know, there was, they all contained multitudes. They were never just the one thing. So yeah, now Last Unicorn is next week. Another man, I don't even remember who made the Last Unicorn movie. It wasn't Don Bluth, and it wasn't Disney.
I can give you the answer, but we'll discuss it on the next.
We'll talk about it next week, or next podcast, because we'll talk. You and I will talk about it in a day. But yeah,
yes.
But anyway, until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
I'll be right, Shakma.
Stay.
Oh.